So today you live in Florida and you're thinking about moving to Michigan and you don't know what to expect, then this video is for you. So you're currently living in the Panhandle state of Florida and you're thinking about moving to the Mitten state of Michigan. Well, then this video is for you. We want to talk about the differences between living in Florida compared to living in Michigan. We found a lot of our clients moving here to Michigan are actually moving from Florida. So we figured this video would be very fantastic for people in their shoes or people down the road that are thinking about moving here to Michigan. My name is Matt Talbot. My team and I help people just like you every single day move here to Michigan, and we absolutely live for it. If you're thinking about moving in the next 3, 6, 12 months, give us a call, send us a DM, comment below, or fill out the Calendly link for a introduction appointment here on YouTube, and we can start some conversations today. We get calls, texts, and emails from people that are thinking about moving the next 6 to 12 months literally every week, and we absolutely live for it. So again, today's video is very focused on people who live in Florida that want to move to Michigan. So if that's you, then this video is for you. We want to deep dive, talk about some of the statistics so you can firmly understand the differences between Florida and Michigan and what that means to you. First on our list, it might seem obvious, but we want to dive into the data here, and that's going to be the climate shift between Michigan and Florida. Of course, you have one of the most southern states and one of the most northern states, at least in the continental US here, and so there is a major difference between the two. However, there's some more similarities than you might think. So we want to talk about a little bit about that climate shift. Obviously, in Florida, you have warm weather and beaches the majority of the year, and Michigan, we have all of our seasons, which we'll get into in a minute. I do have some nice statistics pulled up here. First and foremost, the high throughout the year. So Detroit's high in the summer is 83 degrees. The high in Miami is 89 degrees. So I think that's averages. Obviously, you can spike into the 90s in Florida as well as here in Michigan. So when it comes to really warm, hot summer days, I think Florida might get a little bit hotter for sure and might stay consistently hotter. But when it comes to those spike days, Michigan still has plenty of those as well too. So you do get that full warm summer throughout Michigan as well. Some people don't necessarily know that. This is an interesting one. Detroit, Michigan gets 33.5 inches of rain on average per year. Miami, Florida gets 59.3 inches of rain on average per year. The U.S. average is 38.1 inches of rain per year. So Detroit gets a little bit less than the national average when it comes to rain, which is awesome. And Miami gets significantly more. So although you get a lot of those nice warm days down in Florida, there's actually less rain here in Detroit, Metro Detroit, than there is in Florida, which is interesting. Now, of course, those of you who are in Florida, I know the comments are going to start rolling in. Well, we get the pop-up storm, so inches of rain, which is very true, of course. One thing that's very interesting of a Michigander being down in Florida is seeing those pop-up tropical storms that you guys get. Remember multiple times being on the golf course, it's like 80, 90 degrees, beautiful sunshine, then all of a sudden it just like gets dark for like literally 40 minutes, pours rain, and then it's 80 degrees again. I love that. It's kind of like short-lived, which we don't always have short-lived storms here in Michigan. However, as an aggregate, less rain falls in Detroit than in Miami, as an example. Next on our list is temperature lows. So we talked about highs into the 90s in both states. And in both states, the temperatures can get pretty cold. Detroit low is 18 degrees and Miami has a low of 30 degrees. So I know that's rare for Miami. I know that Florida doesn't typically jump down into the 30s, but it does from time to time. And in Michigan, it definitely gets down to the 20s and teens from time to time. With the wind chill, can feel a lot colder. So obviously you have these extreme colds in the winter, which isn't all year round. That's only during a few weeks or a couple months throughout the winter when you can have that even chance of these extreme temperatures getting that low. However, you know, Miami compared to Detroit, obviously the low on the Miami side of things, maybe 30 degrees when hell freezes over. No, I just that would be a very unlikely event, but it can happen. And in Michigan, again, we do experience a lot of 30s, 20s, and in the teens once you roll really into, you know, January, February, that time period. There's a couple cold months there without a doubt. Last comparison when comparing Miami to Detroit is the amount of snowfall. Again, obviously not lots of snow down in Miami there. Detroit averages about 33 inches of snow The U.S. average is 27.8 inches of snow, so we're a little bit above average, but it's not like Detroit and Metro Detroit is experiencing the most amount of snow here in Michigan. Now, if you jump up to the Upper Peninsula, you go into the the upper lower peninsula here, you jump into the Upper Peninsula, quite a bit more snow up there, of course. So we're talking about Detroit compared to Miami, but Southeast Michigan, a little bit above the national average, nothing crazy for a northern state. Again, once you go north, I'm sure Michigan as an aggregate has a lot more snowfall than a lot of states. Obviously, you're not seeing any snowfall in Florida, and when that does happen, I feel like schools, restaurants, everything shuts down, businesses shut down. It's pretty wild. Same with Texas. I remember I was in Dallas, Texas a few years ago, and they got like a little tiny bit of snow, and like everything shut down. Like there was no school, people didn't have to go to work, and I was like, this is like, I mean, literally it was like what we would call a dusting here in Michigan, like nothing at all. And so if you are thinking about moving to Michigan, be prepared and thoughtful of driving in the snow. Prepping your car can be a big thing. Understanding what car to drive is another important feature, and that's not just for driving in the snow and ice, but also considering snow and ice creates potholes a lot. So we have horrible roads. I can't really get away from that one. We have horrible roads. So driving a car not with low profile tires or something that's a little bit more realistic for today's roads here in Michigan is going to be very, very important. So a little bit more snow compared to the national average here in Michigan. Obviously no snow in Florida, but again, we do have the seasons, okay? It's beautiful when you go, from winter to spring. It's one of the most happy times of the year for people in Michigan, I feel like, because it's like, wow, we survived another winter. And then you roll into summer, which is Michigan summers are like impossible to beat. They're absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, hot days, get cool at night still most of the time during the summer. So it's absolutely fantastic. And one of our favorite seasons, which we're currently in now, actually, at the time of this video, is fall. And fall is the best, okay? You get apple cider, you get cider milk donuts, pumpkin spice lattes, flannel shirts. I mean, it is hoodie season, it's football season. There's a lot of reasons why having those seasons in Michigan is so beneficial. So again, you're trading some sunshine and less snow for the seasons here in Michigan, without a doubt. Okay, up next on our list is going to be the amount of water in Florida compared to Michigan. What I mean by the amount of water is truly comparing the lakes to the oceans, right? So you're probably most likely, if you're in Florida, a lot of people are either on the ocean or close to the ocean or live in a town that's not far from the ocean. And in Michigan, we happen to have the Great Lakes, which I think so many people can kind of go from a state shaped like that to a state shaped like that without a doubt, because it's all surrounded by water. There's these basically giant peninsula type states, right? And so they're both surrounded by water. So we wanted to talk about some of the differences there from a local here in Michigan and someone that spent some time in Florida. Diving right into the data, there's over 3,200 miles of coastline here in Michigan, which is awesome. So Michigan has the Great Lakes. When we talk about Michigan, it looks like a mitten, so I do this all the time and continue to do so. Great Lakes surround the lower peninsula, okay? You have the Upper Peninsula, Lake Superior's up here as well, too. So we have all the Great Lakes. We have all the fresh water pretty much in the country here in Michigan, which is awesome. So a lot of people don't think of Michigan necessarily, if you're out of state, as being this beautiful coastline, okay? They think Florida, they think California, other places, maybe you think North Carolina or South Carolina or something like that. But we have such a gorgeous coastline here in Michigan, and it's so underrated without a doubt. Living in Michigan, being so close to lakes, no matter where you're at in Michigan, you're pretty much only an hour to 2 hours max from a Great Lake, and you're only 4 or 5 hours max from just about all of them except for Lake Superior, which is way up there. So you have this beautiful coastline. You have beaches and white sand and waves and all that good stuff, but what you don't have is giant sharks and scary in the ocean. We don't have any of that stuff here in Michigan, which is nice. So kind of the best of both worlds, in my opinion. In summer, Michigan is very thought of as like, let's go to the lake, and that whether that's a Great Lake or one of our thousands of inland lakes here, everyone's trying to go to a lake. So you're trying to go to an all sports lake. There's cottages and lake houses and sometimes principal residences on lakes here. If you're thinking about moving to the state and you have the correct budget and you want to be in the right area, a lot of people choose lake homes as their principal residence. If if not, a lot of our clients, we get calls all the time of people that want a lake house throughout the state of Michigan. They live in Southeast Michigan, or maybe they live out of state and they're looking for a lake house for the summer. We won't deep dive too much here. However, my personal opinion on lakefront properties in Michigan and probably throughout the country is going to be limitless. What I mean by that is, as you look towards the future, just having a lake house and being on fresh water, I don't think can be a bad investment in a long-term field, right? If you look really long-term in the data and you think forward down the road, being on a freshwater lake, whether it's a Great Lake or another lake here in Michigan, can be a fantastic investment and tons of fun along the way. So those are some of the pros, right? Instead of surfing and being out in the boat and being out in the ocean, you can be out in the boat and you can do water sports. So we do a lot of, wakeboarding and water skiing and jet skiing and stuff like that in Michigan. So you get sort of all those same water sports for the most part. I mean, there is some surfing, not as much as Florida, of course, in certain areas. However, some people do surf on Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, stuff like that, because the waves do get big enough if you pay enough attention to that. Now, those are a lot of the pros. The cons are really on both sides. So in Florida, you have what? Like, the thing that everyone's scared about in Florida is hurricanes, right? So you have hurricane season, these massive storms. The last few years have been wild. I'm very empathetic for people that have gone through all that down there. That's quite a bit. Our storms aren't quite as intense here in Michigan. However, if you are on the Great Lake, like specifically Lake Michigan for the most part, and you want to live on that side of the state, you will experience a good amount of what we call lake effect snow. So a lot of people don't really understand that. If you're from Florida, you guys get big storms that roll in, it rains a lot. Here in Michigan, a lot of the weather moves actually from west to east across Lake Michigan, then rolls into the state. And so once you catch all that weather, Lake Michigan creates like some big storms and a good amount of accumulation of those cloud-based systems. And as they roll through and they hit that side of the state, you have lake effect snow, because you have all that water kind of coming up already, and it creates ice when it gets cold. And so there's a good amount of lake effect snow throughout the state that definitely pummels the west side of the state without a doubt. So if you are thinking Grand Rapids or Holland or Traverse City or anywhere on the west side of the state, expect a heavier amount of snow there compared to other places in the state here of Michigan. Up next on our list, comparing Florida to Michigan, is going to be outdoor activities. So in the summertime, we have just about all the same activities. Actually, interesting fact, golf, there's more golf courses per capita in Michigan and Florida than any other states in the entire country. So very, very well known for golf states, both in Michigan and Florida, which you wouldn't necessarily think about that from such a northern state, but we have a lot of golf and outdoor activities in Michigan as well as in Florida. And we have a lot of the same activities, right? You have a lot of hunting. There actually might even be some more in Michigan. We're not hunting for crocodiles, but we're hunting for deer. You still have your hunting activities, your fishing activities, again, ocean compared to lake, but a lot of similar activities that you can do here compared to Florida. The only misses that you have are going to be some of the obviously deep sea fishing, some of the big boat stuff, as well as, surfing in Florida compared to here in Michigan as an aggregate. However, the pro here in Michigan is you get a lot of outdoor activities as well too in the wintertime, which obviously you cannot have down in Florida. So if you've never been on a snowmobile and you're from out of state and you like doing things that like make you scared, that go fast, that are fun, that are exhilarating, snowmobiling could definitely be for you. It's an awesome sport, super outdoor activity. It's unbelievably fun if you get into it. And there's a lot of other similar things happening here in Michigan. You can do cross-country skiing, you can do ice fishing, which obviously you can't get in Florida. So there's a lot of pros of the Michigan winters when it comes to outdoor activities. Of course, you don't get the sunshine as long, you don't do as much of the summer activities, but if you're into summer and winter activities, that's huge here in Michigan. One example is hunting, in the winter. I don't know if other states have this or not, but I do know here in Michigan, like opening day, when it comes to both bow hunting and then rifle hunting for deer is a huge thing for a lot of people. Like a lot of people take work off. It's hard to get up north. It is a thing to go hunting here in Michigan. I'm not a hunter myself. However, if that's, your bread and butter, it's a great state for something like that. So summer activities overlap in both states, and winter activities you get only in Michigan compared to Florida. Educational excellence. So we wanted to compare Michigan versus Florida, and one way to do so is University of Michigan versus University of Florida. So there's an article we have here, but we pulled some statistics out of there. So in-state tuition per semester, University of Michigan, just under $16,000. University of Florida is only $4,500. So quite a bit less expensive to go to University of Florida compared to Michigan. Out-of-state tuition for University of Michigan is $52,000. University of Florida is $26,000. Again, we're only comparing two universities here, guys, but just to give you an example, again, University of Michigan compared to University of Florida. This is an interesting one. U of M has 51% of in-state students, and Florida has 80% of in-state students and 15% out-of-state. University of Michigan has 45% out-of-state. So U of M has a lot more people coming here to Michigan. So a lot of people watching this video, actually, we get quite a few students calling us for student housing and for apartments and stuff like that in Ann Arbor. Our team really focuses on buying and selling real estate. We don't typically deal with rentals, but if you're looking for a rental, we can point you in the right direction and hopefully give you some resources to go ahead and find one. However, our team really focuses on people buying real estate and selling real estate specifically. Okay, moving on. Incoming Michigan students have 2-point higher average ACT score than students in Florida, 31 compared to 29. The graduation rate of Michigan is higher than the University of Florida, 90% versus 84%. So graduation U of M is a little bit higher compared to Florida. Graduates from University of Michigan earn on average $11,800 more per year than Florida graduates after 10 years. So they make more money on average. So it's a lot more expensive to go to school, University of Michigan compared to University of Florida. However, on average, you're making more money. So of course, that's just one example to kind of compare schools and show you one different example here. There's a lot of different programs that University of Michigan has, the University of Florida has. I'm sure some are better at different schools depending on what you're looking for. But as a whole, I can speak wholeheartedly on schools here in Michigan. Obviously, University of Michigan's a big one. Michigan State University is in East Lansing. It's another huge school, actually, really very large student body there. And there's a lot of other universities as well, too. Wayne State downtown, very well known for their law school as well as their medical program. People from all over the country go to Wayne State to go to school for medicine. We see people from all over the country and all over the world moving to Detroit for that reason. And then post-graduation, there's tons of hospital systems. We talk about that quite a bit in these videos because we work so heavily with people in the hospital systems. Lots of physicians. I actually had 3 calls this week with docs, local physicians that are living locally that are looking for a change of pace in their real estate needs and in their home needs as well as investment opportunities. So we work very, very heavily with the healthcare system as well too. And I think that's a direct overlap with the educational systems, definitely when it comes to Wayne State University, University of Michigan, and some of the other schools throughout the state as well. Up next on our list, well, before I get into that, we're going to get into the cost of living comparing Michigan to Florida. Before I get into that, please hit subscribe, tap for notifications. I have to do my shameless plug here as well. Hey, one thing I've been trying to implement a little bit more about is letting you know a little bit more about our team here in Michigan. So my team is the Talbot team, and our team vision is to be the most trusted, giving, and innovative real estate team in Michigan. So shameless plug here. However, it's very, very important that we come off in that way. First and foremost, trusted by our clients and our community. Second is giving. We do a lot of community involvement. We do quarterly volunteer days. We do nonprofit fundraisers. We have actually one coming up this Friday. We have like 5 volunteer events the next few weeks here. So very busy in the giving department, as well as innovative. So hopefully these videos are innovative for you, and we continue to do so in a lot of different ways. So I have to plug the team. But if this video is providing any value to you, please hit comment and hit subscribe. Please comment and hit subscribe and tap for notifications. We appreciate that. It tells YouTube that we're doing a good job for you. And additionally, if you're thinking about moving to town here, please hit us up. We love the opportunity to chat a little bit more. We're not pushy. Provide some value. If you like what you see, we're happy to work together. If not, I promise you'll learn something along the way. So up next, cost of living. So we have a whole video, actually multiple videos about cost of living here in Michigan. So if you want to deep dive in this category, go ahead and check out those other videos. But again, we are comparing Florida to Michigan in this particular video. So enjoy a potentially lower cost of living in Michigan compared to Florida's popular coastal cities. Michigan is 10% lower than the national average when it comes to cost of living, according to this article. My Life Elsewhere cost of living comparison. Also, Florida is 8.2% more expensive than Michigan. So Michigan's 10% lower than the national average, and Florida is about 8.2% more expensive on the cost of living according to this article. Just like as an example, basic meal at an inexpensive restaurant is $15 in Michigan versus $20 in Florida. A loaf of bread is $2.78 in Michigan compared to $3.21 in Florida. A gallon of milk is $3.20 compared to $4.26 in Florida. So cool articles out there to compare those two. I think on average we are a little bit less expensive here in Michigan than we are in Florida. And again, that of course determines where you're looking at, what types of value adds, what types do you want city living, do you want rural living. There's a lot of different breakdowns there, of course, but as a whole and as an aggregate, if you look at most of the data out there based on our research, it is less expensive to live in Michigan compared to Florida. So that is a value add if you're moving to town, especially if you're paying for that higher out-of-state tuition at University of Michigan. So climate, outdoor activities, education, cost of living, all these great stuff, comparing Florida to Michigan. They're both great states without a doubt. In fact, a lot of people here in Michigan are called snowbirds. So if you haven't heard of this term, we call a lot of people who have a place here in Michigan and a place typically in Florida or other places, we call them snowbirds. Just like the snowbirds here in Michigan, they go south when it gets cold up here. A lot of birds do that, right? They migrate south during the cold months, where a lot of humans do that as well too. So not only do we have a lot of clients that are moving here from Florida, but we have a lot of clients that have a second house or moving from Michigan to Florida. We see that quite a bit as well too. I've helped 3 clients last couple months actually sell their homes here that are moving to Florida, so we do that pretty regularly as well too. Again, we wanted to compare the differences between Florida and Michigan. If you're thinking about making that jump, if you're thinking about going one direction or the other, hopefully this video helped provide a little bit of value for you. If you want to deep dive into real estate specifics, we didn't do that in this video. We wanted to talk more at that high level, in that macro level, rather than the micro real estate specifics. But if you want to dive deeper into the real estate specifics, you're understanding home values in a specific area compared to Florida, that type of stuff, we can also outline that for you as well too. So thanks so much for checking out today's video. If this video provided any value to you, please hit subscribe, tap for notifications, and stay tuned for more videos just like this.